What's going on, world? It's your boy KUYA P. This is Nerds Rule the World, and I am so excited, so delighted, because I'm going to be talking Peanuts. We are about to celebrate the 75th anniversary of Peanuts. We have from Abrams Comics Arts, The Essential Peanuts by Mark Evanier, who you see on my screen right now. He is heading this project. I'm so delighted. Mark, I'm going to shoot off some air horns right now. We're celebrating you. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you. It's all in post, so I don't deafen you. Where did this project come from Abrams Comics Arts to get you involved to celebrate Charles Schulz, to celebrate Peanuts, something that I think is so near and dear to so many of us, that just makes us so tremendously happy?
I don't know where the idea for this book came from, actually. Someplace between the people at Abrams Comic Arts and the people at the Charles M. Schulz Museum in Santa Rosa and the people at Charles M. Schulz Creative Associates, which controls the heart and soul of Peanuts and makes sure that, Linus looks like Linus and so on. They decided that since it was the 75th anniversary of Peanuts, there had to be a huge, big book. And an editor, publisher, guy in charge at Abrams said, I got just the guy to write it. And I was asked during last year's Comic-Con in San Diego, Comic-Con International, which I attend every single year that it's ever been. And I do a lot of the panels down there. And one day I had 45 minutes between panels, and Charlie called me and he said, can I talk to you about a project? I said, sure, you got until, 3 o'clock. And he brought up the Peanuts people and they said, we want you to do this book. And I said, I will do this book. It took me a long time to decide to say yes. It took me a half a second. They hadn't even mentioned money yet. And I was delighted to find out later that I would be paid. I would have done this. In case they're watching, I'm not saying this, but I would have done it without that.
I love it. Okay, because it's so beloved, right? When was your first introduction to Charles Schulz and the Peanuts comic strip? Can you recall that?
The hardest question you could ask me, it's like saying, when did you discover chocolate? When did you discover the fun of running down the street? I mean, it's just been part of my life the whole time. My father loved newspapers. And at the time I discovered Peanuts, we had 2 morning newspapers in Los Angeles and 2 afternoon newspapers. And he got all 4 of them every day delivered because he just felt, and on Sundays, of course. And that to me was 4 comic strip pages to read every day. And I plowed into them and I discovered all of those comic strips at once. And there were a lot of other good comic strips in the page. I'm sure Mr. Schulz would have agreed with that. And I just was drawn to Peanuts more than maybe any other strip then. It was more accessible to me. I loved Pogo later on, but at the age when I discovered comic strips, Pogo was this strip where beautifully drawn characters said stuff I couldn't understand to save the life of me. But I could understand 98% of what was in Peanuts. Even if I didn't get all the jokes, I got enough to make it worth viewing every day. And I would read them religiously. And I at some very early age, I just started drawing Charlie Brown and Snoopy myself. I got to draw what was an impressive Charlie Brown for someone who was 5 years old or 4 years old, whatever I was at the time. And, and I draw those characters today almost as well as I did then. But, I would draw Charlie Brown on the notebooks of kids at school or on things, and everyone, oh my God, that's Charlie Brown. How did you do that? And it was just that I loved the strip so much. If you love something enough, you can kind of learn how to draw it. So it's been part of my life. If we could turn this camera and turn the room around, we see a whole bunch of Peanuts books over there. You see a whole bunch of Peanuts books over there. Behind me on the shelf that you can kind of see on the left side of your screen, where you see that yellow, orange, and those are the main books that I moved over there for reference when I was working on the book. I could just roll this chair backwards and grab them and say, quick, what day did Schroeder first appear? Like that. And of course, a A lot of this is on the internet. They have a wonderful database. They probably rather I didn't tell you about that the Schultz people have that has all the peanut strips um, indexed and scanned and cross-indexed. So I could go on that database, which they gave me access to, and say, okay, what happened in Peanuts on this date, or show me all the strips that mention cheese, or whatever you wanted to do. You could show me the first time Snoopy danced. Show me the first time. Show me the one. I think the first one I looked up, I said, can I find the one where Lucy smashed Schroeder's Beethoven statue, and Schroeder just calmly went over to a closet, opened a door, and there were like 9 more statues there. And I like to think he had like 8 more in the garage too. And he just calmly took one of the statues out, put it back on his piano, and continued his concerto.
I love that. So many great memories whenever I talk with Peanuts with anybody. It's just I think it's just such a simple time, and it's just I don't know. There's an energy that comes from it that just makes us smile. I think all of us we're all so connected with it. So as you were saying, there's a plethora of material. 75 years. How do you figure out your through line? You climbed on board. You signed on. You said it took you a second. So once you're on board this, Mark, how do you figure your path to what this should be?
Well,
how long did that take you?
They put together a committee of people to pick what they called the 75 essential peanut strips, which is a little bit of an illusory title because the 75 great peanut strips, which we picked, I had a hand in that, but I didn't do it alone, also have lots and lots of supplemental strips following it. Here's a strip where this the first time that Lucy did this, or here's the first time Sally Brown appeared, or whatever it was. And then we follow it in the book with a dozen or 2 strips which show how the character grew, how the franchise expanded, how the joke grew, how it got developed, the variations that Schultz found, because one of the great things about this man is that he kept finding different ways to do. Charlie, don't worry, Charlie Brown, I won't pull the football away this time. He kept finding new clever ways to make that funny, different variations on it. The book is just full of see, I get a free pass to a certain extent. People are going to love this book, not because of me, but because there's all this peanut stuff in it. And there's not just are there great strips that you'll remember or wish you'd read that when you were younger, but there are all these supplemental articles by different people giving their view. It's not just my viewpoint on Peanuts. There's all these other voices in there discussing this approach, or there's a whole page about how Peanuts was translated in another language, a whole article on that I had nothing to do with. And there's people discussing his design and his ink line and how his work changed over the years. But then you also have all these great strips, and then the reminder of the TV specials and the musical and that shirt you owned when you were 9 years old that you wish you could still fit in, or you still had, that had, Linus on it or whatever. It's just, I did a book years ago on the history of Mad Magazine.
Yes.
And I was in Las Vegas, I remember, and I suddenly got all these text messages and emails from people saying, congratulations, you just got a rave review in the New York Times best book review thing. Congratulations. And I go, wow, I got a great review. And I finally got a hold of it and I read it. And what it was a great review of Mad Magazine. It said, and Mad Magazine was great because of this, and Mad Magazine. And then down the bottom it said, oh, and by the way, there's this book out by this guy named Mark Evanier. So I got a rave review without doing anything that people raved about. And I assume it'll be the same thing with this book, which is people will love it. And now people will congratulate me on the great reviews. And all we did was present to you all this material that you would have loved if I hadn't written all the stuff that came in between it.
It takes a village. I think you know that, though, Mark. Your ability to get the right talent together and get everyone talking and bring these voices back are essential. We need that.
But that was a lot of that was assembled by the people at the Schultz Museum and at the Schultz Associates, and by Charlie Kochman at Abrams. I had a little bit of I feel like I got a little free pass on this book. I got to have my name on a book that's full of Charles Schultz stuff. How you get pride by association. I'm proud that my name is on a book about Charles Schulz. And I also had the joy of spending a couple of months immersing myself. I read every Peanut strip again. I read every book I could about Schulz. I have a whole folder on my hard drive of interviews of him, video interviews and audio interviews. And I think I listened to all the ones we could find. He was interviewed a lot, that man, and he said a lot of quotable things. So, and my lady friend would come and say, "What are you doing, Mark?" And I'd say, "I'm working. I'm reading Peanut strips."
It's got to be the best work.
I'm getting paid to read Peanut strips. This is just one of those dream projects, and surprise, they actually paid me also. I mean, it wasn't that necessary, but no, I'm trying to dissuade you from the idea that I made this book all by myself. And even allowing the fact that Mr. Schulz made some sort of contribution, other people were heavily involved in it, and they're all credited. And I wish I knew.
Definitely, but you've got to say you've lived a charmed life. You covered King, Kirby, you did Mad Magazine, and now that's the best job in the world. You've got the best job in the world, Mark.
I have been lucky enough in my life to bond with many, maybe even most of the people who did work I loved when I was a kid.
I love that.
I got to be friends with Mel Blanc and Dawes Butler and all the people who made the Warner Brothers cartoons and the Jay Ward cartoons. And I knew Bill Hanna and Joe Barbera and all these people. And I'm friends with Dick Van Dyke. And I got, things like that. And I did. My favorite movie in the world, as you might know, if you ever read anything I've written, is It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
Yes.
And I got to work with almost everybody who was alive when I got into show business. I got to work with Jonathan Winters and Buddy Hackett and Don Knotts and all these people who were in that movie, Sid Caesar and Milton Berle and so on. And so I just love that. And here's my chance to bond some more with Peanuts. I've been involved with a few little other Peanuts things in the past, but here's my chance to just immerse myself in it and to take you along with me. I hope that when people read this book, they feel that I've given them a closeness to the material that I enjoy, which is the reason I enjoy doing the book, that closeness, to be able to go back and read them all over again. They're all in print. You can read the complete Peanuts if you spend a little money someplace, and you might think to yourself, well, I'll do that someday. I don't have the time right now. Well, I made the time. It's a fun trip. Go do it. It's enjoyable.
I love it. As a fan of your work, Mark, though, we love you as the captain of our ship. We're living vicariously through you, and you're doing excellent work. So bravo to you, sir. Again, I'm so jelly over here. But back onto Peanuts. So working on this project, learning, finding out all these things, this amazing team that you and Abrams Comics Art, that collaborated together on this. Was there anything that you found that as a fan that you didn't know through the course of putting this all together?
Yes, there were quite a few things I did not know. I had read an awful lot about Charles Schulz, but when I reread things I'd read before, when you immerse yourself in it, suddenly you go, oh, this dovetails with that thing in that other book, or here's this interview, and here's where he said this about that. So you learn more about, and then I had the strips at my disposal. If he mentions something, I could go look up the strip. So you learn, even about the stuff you've already read, you learn more things. But I had done some interviews over the years with Lee Mendelson, who produced the Charlie Brown specials. And I had some interviews with him, and Lee was a friend of mine, great, lovely man. I spoke at his funeral a few years ago, and I was so pleased that I knew Lee Mendelson, a man who was very important in Peanuts history. And he had told me things, and then I understood more about them when I read more about Schulz. It's just a matter of just, one of the things that I learned a lot about, and this is not an upbeat thing necessarily, was about Mr. Schulz's last years. I had not read much about that. And he had a lot of trouble health-wise. He had a tremor in his hand that steady readers of the strip know. If you just read through the strips chronologically, it isn't as apparent, because it's like, how long it takes a pot to start boiling. You never, it's such a slow evolution, you don't notice it. But if you suddenly look at the last year of strips out of nowhere, you suddenly say, gee, his hand, as you jumped from 1965 strips to the last year, his hand got very shaky, and to understand the determination he had. One of the things in newspaper strips, doing a daily newspaper strip, particularly if you have a Sunday page, is hard. And it's hard in terms of just the hours you put in.
Yeah.
If you add in all the time that you have to spend dealing with the syndicate and business stuff and merchandise and requests for your interviews and requests for speeches and all these extra things, it's a very difficult thing. And I've known a lot of syndicated cartoonists, and most of them hire assistants. They hire someone else to draw the strip, someone else to write some gags. They are the lead guy. Schulz never hired people to help him with the strip. He hired people to help him with the appointments and the interviews. He hired people to help him with the comic books, the Peanuts comic books, one of which is reproduced in this volume, this set.
Wow.
You get an actual reprint of a Dell comic book from the early 60s, I think it is, late 50s, early 60s, which Schulz did some work on, but a lot of it was work of other people under his supervision. You see the contrast of other people doing his characters and what he was doing contemporaneously. They're very close, but they're not exact.
Mm.
And so the endurance he had to keep every day, nobody would have faulted this man if in the last few years of his life he said, gee, my line's getting a little shaky. I'll bring on someone else to ink the strip. I'll bring on someone else to assist with the artwork. A lot of guys did. A lot of great cartoonists had assistants.
Yeah.
Al Capp had assistants. Walt Kelly had assistants. Milton Caniff had assistants. All the great newspaper guys. Mort Walker practically had a factory of them. And there's a new book out about Mort Walker's career too, which is a nice book. But Schulz was determined that Peanuts was an individual statement, at least on the newspaper strip. Other people did the animation. Other people now do some cartoons of the characters. Other people helped design a lot of the merchandise under his supervision. But nobody, even filled in the black area. If he, usually, even a cartoonist who's working on his own, if he's got a big black area to fill in, he'll just outline it and hand a brush to somebody else to say, here, just fill in the black area here. Mm-hmm. A completely uncreative job, but he did that himself. He did his own lettering. Very few newspaper strip guys did their own lettering, and he did his own lettering. And in the last couple years, that was a struggle to do. And then he reached the point where he suddenly got so sick. This part gets very depressing, and I don't want to dwell on it because I don't want this interview to be depressing. But the last year or so, and the way it stopped, are sad. It's a sad. Yeah. There's a sad story in here about the fact that he didn't get to bring those characters to a climax, a completion that he thought out in advance. All of a sudden, there was the last Peanut strip, and when he drew it, he didn't know it was the last strip. Mm-hmm. His health just took a turn for the worse. And then, with timing that leaves your jaw dropping, he died the day the last Peanut strip appeared in print.
Crazy.
I get this call of the Sunday strip, and I'll call Sunday morning from Link Mendelsohn. He says, "You'll never believe what happened last night." And he says, Schulz died overnight, and the last strip is in the papers today. I don't know how he planned it, but he did. It had a poetry to it that was and so when you talk about what did you learn, I learned that story, and I'm trying to relate that story to people because we feel a closeness to this man. I had the pleasure of working with him and knowing him, not as much as some other people, but I certainly knew him and spent time with him, and I liked him tremendously. I found him, let me put it this way, if you or I had accomplished all that, we wouldn't be that humble. When I was talking with him, I was asking him things about the strip that interested me, and he was telling me things about strips he loved as a child. We spent time talking about L.Z. Seeger Popeye strips. We spent time talking about Skippy, which was one of his favorite strips, Percy Crosby strips. We spent time talking about some of the more obscure strips and why didn't they go and things like that. He was not competitive as a cartoonist. He certainly said, "Oh my God, did you see that strip the other day? This guy did a fabulous job." I have met people, men of accomplishment, who were not capable of recognizing the accomplishments of others. He was not one of those men. And so that put a very human side on this man whose story I had to tell the sad part of at the end.
Yeah.
Please, if you read this book, don't start at the end. Start
Yeah.
at the beginning and go right through it, which is the way it was written, by the way.
Mm.
For some strange reason, they said, we want chapter 1 completely done before you write chapter 2, and then chapter 2 before you write chapter 3.
Oh, so they wanted you to do it chronologically.
Later, we went back and said, oh, I repeated this from this to this. Let's cut this out and such like that. But it was a journey to me to read the strips and write the story in more or less sequence. Obviously, there were variations, but that gave you a sense of the enormity of what this man accomplished and that incredible body of work. I just got an email from somebody who's I'm doing one of these interviews with in a couple of weeks, and they said, "What's your all-time favorite Peanut strip?"
So hard.
What I admire is the body of work.
Yeah, totally.
And no one strip encapsulates Peanuts by itself. Even the 75 we picked as essentials don't give you a full feel of what this masked man accomplished. And I'm talking too much saying the same thing. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. No, I love it. I just, again, it's so inspiring. To me, he's iconic. He's why I became a creative. I'm wearing a Peanuts,
oh, that's great.
Picture right now. It's something my wife and daughter that we connect on. We have so many Peanuts things in our house. I have your books in my house, Mark, because I'm a huge comics guy, King Kirby fan, Mad Magazine fan. It's these kind of materials that just is so inspiring. And I can just only imagine the work it took for you, along with Abrams Comics Arts, to put and encapsulate a life in these pages and cover 75 years. It's just it has to be the best job ever, but also the most difficult job ever to do.
Well, I would disagree with the use of the word work. I don't feel like I've ever had a job.
Right? I would not think, because doing King Kirby research, Mad Magazine research, that can be work.
I just do stuff I like tremendously and hope somebody's dumb enough to pay me for it. That's it. I mean, I
love that for you.
That's wonderful. You asked me where I discovered Peanuts. I tell the story in the book, but when I was a kid, my parents used to go to a bookshop, a new bookshop on Westwood Boulevard near where we lived. And this book, was called Bookhaven. It's long, long gone, run by two little old widow ladies. And they stocked all the new books that came out, and you could rent the current bestsellers for 2 cents a day. These are the ones you could not get from the public library. You couldn't get the books that were then on the bestseller list. The public library wouldn't have those for a year or two. But this Bookhaven would rent you the current bestsellers for 2 cents a day. And my parents would take these books and rush back to, because you had that exorbitant daily rental. You didn't want to It'd be as fast as possible. I'd say to my father, "Hey, you want to go watch this TV?" "No, I've got to finish the book today. I'm going to turn it back tomorrow," and save the 2 cents. But in that bookshop, they had a little table and there were a lot of them at the time, these $1 paperback reprints of comic strips. There were Pogo books there. There were Peanuts books there. There were a couple of BC books had come out by that point. And there were some other strips that I'd never heard of before because they weren't in Los Angeles newspapers. Even with 4 pages of comic strips every day, there were still strips I'd never heard of. And there were also some original things in that format. And I found a Peanuts collection. I think it was the 5th one that Holt Reinhardt put out. And I opened to a page and I read a Sunday page and I laughed out loud so loud that everybody in the shop looked around going, "What the hell is so funny? What's that kid laughing at?" And we reprint that strip in the book, that Sunday page of the book. And it may not be the best Sunday page ever, but it made me laugh that day. And, and I had a great affection for it. And it was a great example of Schultz timing a gag. You joke, set up, and punchline. And the punchline just left you, he got you, he got me, and stuff like that. And I bought that book, and from thereafter, every time my parents were saying, "We're going to go to Bookhaven," I would say, "Oh, let me go with you. Because then they'd buy me a book. They'd buy me another one of those dollar books. And eventually I had all the Peanuts books. They're in another room here, but the covers are falling off them. They're old. I went through them so often.
Yep.
And I just loved those books. I can remember literally where I bought some of them, and where I remember the first, there was a book called just Snoopy. It was the first book with Snoopy on the cover with his name, and we bought that book for me on the way to a doctor appointment. And I remember sitting in the waiting room reading that book. It was had such an impact on my life. I remember where I was when I was
Wow.
7 years old, reading that book.
Definitely.
And like that. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I would definitely agree to that. I have much of the same. I'll never forget. I'm an 80s baby. Going to the school book fair, going to the barber shop. That's how I got really introduced to like comic books. But also like these paper strips. They're the paper there. But then I discovered, Eerie and Creepy and Marvel and DC. But yeah, but just Peanuts from the newspaper, my parents. And there's just so many fond memories that you tie to it. So with that being said, why do you think it is? What do you think is the appeal, Mark, that it's such got a stranglehold on all of us as a culture, and why Charles Schulz is such a legend that just everybody can get into Peanuts. It's so accessible, and we keep it with it, and we have memories tied to it.
You just answer your own question, because everybody can get into it because it's so accessible, and you can look at that strip and you will find a piece of your life in there. Somebody in your life talks like Lucy did. Someone in your life talks like Linus did. Somebody in your life has that kind of carefree attitude of Snoopy dancing. Whatever it is, you recognize that some part of you, and of course, there's always, every one of us has those moments we felt like Charlie Brown. I mean, we've all had our Charlie Brown moments in our life.
I feel like Charlie Brown every day now in this year right now.
You can do that, but is there anybody alive who didn't one day wish they knew that little cute girl across the street or that little cute boy? Is there anyone in our life who didn't have a frustration? There's something they kept wanting to do. I was even worse at flying kites than Charlie Brown, and I probably only tried it because he was doing it. I couldn't fly a kite to save my life, and I gave it up.
I think I was always careful to kick a football.
I never kicked a good. I was never good at kicking a football. None of those things. Every so often I was good at losing baseball games. Like I could drop the ball at the key moment. I was good at that. But no, I just it just was part of our lives that we just saw that glimpse there, and there was an honesty and an integrity to it. I remember when watching Charlie Brown Christmas the first time it aired, and I think I was sitting there thinking, just as the show was starting, oh, please don't ruin it. Oh, please don't ruin it. Oh, please don't ruin it. And I had not previously read Peanuts with tinkling Vince Guaraldi music in my head, but I would thereafter.
Yeah.
That's such a perfect music selection.
Got us into jazz. Got me into jazz.
But it also got into a very simple level of jazz.
Yes.
He didn't. And then when the kids spoke, they didn't speak with cartoon voices. They spoke with very honest voices. It would have been so wrong to cast that with Mel Blanc and June Foray and Dawes Butler and the people who were doing the voices and 90% of the cartoons then. The voices were not professional. They delivered the voices with childlike naivete at times, the lines with childlike naivete at times. And that just felt right to me. I'll tell you, one of the great experiences and if anybody watching this would like to have a wonderful vacation, there's this place in Santa Rosa, California called the Charles M. Schulz Museum. It is a shrine to Peanuts. It is a place you must visit if you ever love Peanuts in any way, shape, or form. And the people there are so nice. They love talking about Peanuts. They will answer every question you could have. Or if you answer a question they don't know, they will get panicked. Oh, we'll find out the answer for you, and they'll call on everybody else and check their computer. Anyway, and I'm proud to visit. I'll be there in November signing this book. I'm just delighted to go back there. But across the street from there is the ice rink that Schulz owned. And in the ice rink, there's a little snack bar. He used to have a studio above that. I visited him in that studio for a while. He was working a studio up there. And then and he loved working there, although he loved other places later for other reasons, because he could call the snack bar downstairs and say, hey, could you toast me an English muffin or something like that? He had a chef at his command. Anyway, so my friend Sergio Aragonis and I, and Jeannie Schultz, his widow, who's a lovely, wonderful, smart lady who protects the property as well as much as anybody. You'd want someone, someone to protect it with that ferociousness
Definitely.
and sensitivity. We're sitting there chatting in the snack bar, and I look over and there's this ice rink, and there's all these kids bundled up because it's 3 degrees in that place, and they're all bundled up with 3 or 4 levels of jackets and things, and they're out there skating, and they all got earmuffs on, hats, and they're skating, and the music that's pumped in is playing Vince Guaraldi Peanuts.
Oh my gosh.
I look over, and there are all these kids, and they're all kind of anonymous because they're all bundled up, and there's and I can't replicate the music, but you can. Everybody watching this can replicate it in their head.
Yeah, it's playing in the head right now.
Oh my God, that's Schroeder. That's Schroeder.
Oh, I love that.
That's Peppermint Patty. That's Linus. That's if I was looking for a dust cloud around one kid, and I had this little tingle, like, yeah, and I almost started to cry. It was such a beautiful moment that life had imitated art, imitating life, imitating art, imitating life. And so if you go to the Schultz Museum, walk across the street and watch.
Oh, definitely.
And get yourself an English muffin at the snack bar too. But it's a great little place to be. And if you, I don't make a nickel for any admissions but I tell people, get there if you can. It's not a bad drive from from San Francisco rather. It's about 45 minutes as the Sergio drives. And we went there and just spent a wonderful day. And I've been back there a couple of times, and I'm excited to go back there next month.
Oh my gosh. I absolutely love that, Mark.
And go not as a gaping Peanuts fan slobbering over this stuff, but as going somebody who has now become a little tiny part of that organization. And I'll yes, I'll sign your book. I'll sign this book that you bought because of the stuff I didn't do in it. Thank you. Yes.
Amazing. Oh, I love that so much. San Francisco, the 49ers are my favorite team. My wife and I are planning to go see a game. So next time we're out in San Francisco, I think we will take that trip up. And it's because we've always wanted to go see the museum. And so I love that you're showing love to them. But now I have a mission to go across the street and go check that out. I adore that.
San Francisco, go to the Cartoon Art Museum near Fisherman's Wharf. That's worth a couple hours of your life while you're up there too.
Most definitely.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place to be, and go early and plan on spending the day. And if you look at their website, there's a lot of events there, a lot of special exhibits they have. And they also do something which I just think is wonderful. They bus in kids from all over the surrounding area for cartooning lessons. They have cartoonists there teaching kids how to draw and teaching them art in a way. I mean, it's like if you walk through there, you think to if you have any artistic aspirations in you, you're going to want to learn how to draw or create something on paper. And then they have these lessons for the 8-year-old kids and the 10-year-old kids who come there. And I'm sure that there are cartoonists now, and maybe not just newspapers, but anybody who draws for a living, inspired first by Schultz's work and then by this support team he has that's going on teaching people how to keep drawing, how to apply this. I haven't done this in a long time. I used to go to elementary schools and teach kids how to draw. And because if I went to like a school with like 9-year-old kids, I could be the best artist in the room. That was possible then. I can't do that at San Diego conventions. I go to San Diego convention, I'm probably the 183,000th worst cartoonist, best cartoonist in the room. But with 9-year-olds around, I can hold my own. And I would teach kids how to draw Charlie Brown and how to draw Snoopy, basically. And they love it. They get all excited. Look what I did. Look what I did. And they recognize Charlie Brown. If you look at the background, you has that full face drawing of Charlie Brown. There's that little curl on his forehead.
Mm-hmm.
What I do is I teach them how to draw that curl without telling them what it is. I draw that curl,
mm-hmm.
and then I get them to practice it over and over again. Now I tell them, draw a circle, put the eyes there, and it's still just a circle with eyes in it. And then I say, put that curl right there, and they put that curl right there, and they go, oh my God, I just drew Charlie Brown, because that completes the picture.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've gone with Sergio to um, schools, and we both teach kids how to draw. And we take turns on the blackboard or what we've got there. And what's interesting is that Sergio is 10,000 times the cartoonist I am, but when I do it, it looks humanly possible. If you say to Sergio, draw a battleship, he goes, "Oh yes, battleship," and you have no idea how that happened. There's a battleship appeared where there wasn't a battleship before. If you tell me to draw a fire hydrant, I go, okay, there's a line, and you put a line like this, and the kids go, "Oh, I see how he did it," and and since I'm so inept at it, they go, "Wow, if he can do that, I can probably do it." And I think I have a value in that room in teaching kids. He inspires them, and I show them the beginnings, the and the construction lines and the way you construct a figure, the stuff that he outgrew 50, 80 years ago, whatever it is. And the same feeling I have at the Schultz Museum is that they're processing, they're indoctrinating kids into being creative.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Love that. And shout out to Sergio. Just real quick, I discovered Gru not too long after I first saw Conan as an 80s kid and fell in love, and then Mad Magazine and all that. So just you bringing him up is just amazing. Just you've worked with so many legends, and you're a legend yourself, Mark. I'm just
a legend.
It's giving me life right now.
Here's the problem with that. A legend is Paul Bunyan, who didn't really exist.
But you're legend. You're inspirations to me. It's just you're legendary to me. You guys are legendary.
I'm just someone who wrote something you were fooled into liking at one point. Fine, I'll take that. That's I really we live in an era now where it's impossible to do anything without getting a standing ovation for it. And I think we cheapen the genuine.
I cannot disagree with you on that. I do definitely agree with you on that. But there's certain people, for me as an industry comic person, that are legendary. And I'm sorry, sir.
No. And here's why you got to stop doing that. So many people these days are called geniuses. When you meet a real one, when I met Stan Freberg, when I met Tex Avery, when I met Charles Schultz, when I met other people who did these world-changing work, what do you call them when you used to apply genius to someone who inked a Spider-Man story? You know, I mean, it's what we've cheapened the word. And that's another thing about the Peanuts book here. I want people to come away with the enormity of the body of work and realize that's what a genius does. A genius has a book like that, encapsulating just even samples. I mean, you know, there's 4 or 5 strips in there from 1966 of the 365 wonderful strips he did that year. There's a couple of, I mean, we have a lot of strips in the book, but there's still a microcosm. There's still a fraction of all the Peanut strips that there were. And I hope it sends people running to buy the complete Peanuts in whatever format they can acquire it these days.
I'm not going to disagree with you there, Mark. I just thank you for contributing to the legacy of an amazing person that has inspired us all. And just, I love your body of work as well. And thank you so much for your time. You mentioned you're going to be at the Charles Schultz Museum. I'm going to put that link in the description so people that are interested in that can go see you and check that out. Are you coming out to the East Coast? Because I'm in the DC area. Are you coming to New York Comic Con? Will there be other signings for this?
No, well, I think the Schultz Museum is November 15th. Double check that.
Okay.
That might be my travel date or it might be my appearance date, but I have no plans to go anywhere. They're asking me to go other places, and they mentioned the New York Comic Con. The Comic Con is like the 3rd week in October, I believe. And if I want to actually get physically into the place, I better go get in line now. Because it's the last time I was there, it took me forever to get in, and it
is crazy.
You know, maybe I'm spoiled by Comic-Con in San Diego because I go there and I get access to everything, and they open doors for me, and it's nice. I've been to every single San Diego comic convention. I met Schultz at the 3rd or 4th one. That's when I first met him, but I don't think I'll be going to Washington, D.C. Because the caliber of people who go there, I think I'm above the caliber of the people who now inhabit that place in an official capacity. No, I've not been traveling a lot lately. That was a good. I mean, it came at a good time in my life. Have been recovering from a broken ankle, so I wasn't leaving the house a lot. Good time to do this huge body of work that had to be done under a tight deadline, and we got the book in on time. And it's just at the Comic-Con this year, they brought in the first printed copy in this country because they print them in
Yeah.
a mountain somewhere, and it takes like 2-3 months to just physically get the books here because they bring them by, they have one guppy that swims back and forth with copies or something. So they brought in this box and they let me open it on a panel on Saturday at the convention. Since it was allegedly my book, it was actually everybody's book there, but they said, okay, Mark, you open it. So I get to open the box and see the printed copy the first time. I opened the box, I looked and I went, my God, the Epstein files. This is, and I got a cheap laugh that way. I looked at the book and I'm the creator of a phrase that other writers have used. I believe I invented this phrase. If you're a published author, when you get the very first copy of your book off the press, whatever page you open to, you'll find a typo on. You'll suddenly go, how did we miss that one?
Yeah.
So I just very cautiously opened the middle and I went, I don't see a typo. I don't. I mean, I figured maybe I'll find one on another page, but no. And I actually haven't read the book as the book through. I read it on my copies on my computer of the dummies. It's because I have a search and replace it. I get something go, oh, wait a minute, didn't I use that word someplace? It's fun to read a book that when you're reading it with that kind of microscopic attention. It's fun to have an instant search and replace at your hands, or at least search. I like books on Kindle the same way. Although I don't think this book, they're selling this book on Kindle. I can't imagine looking at it on, one of these. Or even
there's certain things I like that for, but there's something about a book like this that you need to have in your hands.
You need to see Schultz's work.
Yes.
And what you will be very impressed with is how Chip Kidd, who was the designer, Chip blew up a lot of key panels so you can see the quality, the subtlety in the line work, how the line goes thick and thin in a way that may have been lost on you once it was reduced and printed on bad newsprint in your newspaper. But here it is on beautiful white stock, and you see how the control he had of making it subtly a little thicker, a little thinner, and just getting the right expression on Charlie's face. That's one of the reasons that we picked that drawing for the cover that's over your shoulder now. That's the perfect Charlie Brown expression. There's 8,000 million Charlie Brown drawings. That's almost the quintessential Charlie Brown expression, the take he does to camera, looking at us, reacting to the world around him. But so buy the book. Don't buy the Kindle. Don't buy the small version of it, and read it and read it in a good light and get to see these pictures the way they were meant to be.
Completely agree.
And I actually have learned to keep near my drawing board. I keep a magnifying glass. Amazon sells these for like $6. They got lights in them and everything. Like that. You can do flag down planes. And I was actually sitting here looking at my computer screen up close and stuff like that, looking at the line work. And then you turn the page, and now Chip has enlarged it for us and gotten to see a little pencil line that didn't get erased. And you think, oh, he was originally going to put that arm over there. He skipped, they moved it over to there because, and Schultz would tell you, he said this, in fact, he said this to me one time, I don't have someone else ink the strip because I make my final decision in ink. And I don't want someone else making the final decision. And that's true. It's a very silly thing in comic books when one guy pencils it sometimes and some guy inks it, and they don't even know each other. And they're not even working they're working at cross purposes even because they have different ideas what the characters look like or how to do this and stuff like that. The single-mindedness of Peanuts is one of its strengths.
I love that. I love that you're so nerdy about that type of stuff, Mark, because I'm an original art collector, comic nerd, all of that. And I love when I get pages and looking for those blue lines, looking just for the stuff that didn't make it, because it is, like you said, that final inking that happens where, then you're getting the image, but then it goes to coloring, gets scanned up. But yeah, when you're getting that original art page and you're seeing some stuff that they changed, or the notes on the back where they did different posing to just come up with the pose. I love that type of stuff. But Mark,
I have downstairs, I have framed in my kitchen, my dining area, I've got a framed Charles Schultz original, Walt Kelly Peanuts Sunday. I've got a framed Crazy Cat by Harriman. And then I have a space in which I was going to then put a framed L.G. Seeger Popeye, but I never found a good one I could afford. So instead up there, I have a drawing as a placeholder. It's a big, giant pencil drawing that Kurt Swan did for me of Superman.
Awesome.
And so, which is not out of place among those great ones. But on the Schultz Peanuts page, it's all Sunday panels of all Charlie Brown sitting with Snoopy. And in one panel, Schultz forgot to draw the zigzag line on Charlie Brown's shirt. And when he gave it to me, I noticed that instantly. And I was about to say, excuse me, but you, and I thought, no, he'll correct it. No, I don't want him to correct it. I want it exactly. It was complete with that flaw. And people come over to my house and they look at this and they go, oh my God, it's like, you've got, the Mona Lisa here. And it's, of course, it's signed to me from Sparky, and they just stare at it in awe. And then there's other things they can stare at too. And I say to them, can you find the mistake on it? And every single one of them goes, zigzag line is missing. They caught it instantly because it's so iconic. And it's just that drawing of Charlie Brown looks wrong without it. I have a Hulk drawing in another room, big giant pencil drawing that Jack Kirby did for me of the Hulk. And he drew the wrong number of toes on one of the Hulks. Hulk has 5 toes on one foot and 4 on the other. And when he gave it to me, I looked at him and went, hey, Jack, never mind. I wanted it wrong. I wanted it just the way it came on the drawing board with no other editorial input into it. And again, people look at it and they go, hey, he's got the wrong number of toes there. And that's part of the charm of it. So,
definitely. That is so special. I'm
filibustering her. I'm sorry. I'm going.
No worries. I am adoring this conversation because I am such a comics nerd. I'm such a nerd about art, such a nerd about this. You have lived a charmed life, sir. I'm jealous of you. And I'm so thankful for this conversation.
How come I broke my damn ankle? If I'm charmed, I shouldn't have broken my ankle. Thank you.
That's life. And I love how you're self-deprecating. Mark, you're amazing.
I don't do that. I'm not good at self-deprecation. It's just not one of my qualities. I have no talent for being self-deprecating. I'm sorry.
Mark, you're amazing. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time. Let me close this out because I could talk for you for hours. But I know you've got stuff to do and I've got stuff to do. I really appreciate your time talking about the essential peanuts, sir. Thank you so much.
I'll talk about peanuts forever. Anytime you want me back on, it's fine.
You're the best. I'm going to take you up on that because I want to talk about all these other things. Kirby, Mad Magazine, your pal Sergio. I'm just, I love everything about you and the friends you've made and just work you've done, sir.
I said yes. You don't have to go on with that. Thank you.
I appreciate you. Everybody, that is Mark Evanier, because I thought I was going to say Evanier or whatever, but he's not French, like you told me earlier. The Essential Peanuts is arriving in stores from Abrams Comics Arts on October 7th. Go get the book. You want a physical copy. It's so much better that way. As Mark and I were talking about, it's different on a pad. You want it in your hands. It's beautiful. Mark, you're the best. I'm KUYA P. Nerds rule the world. All right, Mark, there's a cut. Nerds rule the world.
Pleasure chatting with you. Love to all my nerds who rule the world.
Nerds rule the world.
Yes, we do.
Thanks. Nerds rule the world.
Thank you.
I love the nerds ruling the world, so more power to you.
Patrick, what up, man? And yes, they do. Nerds rule the world, kid.
Yes,
what
sir.
I'm one of
Thank
them.
you. Awesome. KUYA P, nerds rule the world. Hello.
Yes, they do.
Yes!
Oh,
Nerds rule the world.
I got.
It's in the title of your show, like Nerds Rule the World. Like, I want more Black weirdos on screen, and I don't feel like we ever get to see that very much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Nerds
Appreciate
do
it.
rule the world.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you,
rule.
nerds rule.
Love it.
Hello, Sarah. Hello, Julian.
Yes,
Rock on. I love it. Thank you so much.
It's good to see you. I love Nerds Rule the World.
But yeah, there's a heavy nerd component, man.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if you ask me, nerds rule the world. So
absolutely.
And you're right. Nerds do rule the world.
We're just the best.
Yes. Yes. Nerds do rule the world. I agree.
We do.
I agree.
We're awesome, aren't we?
Thank you, ladies.
so much.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
And nerds really do rule the world.
Thank you, sir. It's your boy KUYA P, nerds rule the world. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you.
do. They rule the world all right.
Yes. Take care, Tony. Thank you, guys.
Well, I was good until I saw that this is Nerds Rule the World. So are we talking about like everybody you interview is a nerd, right?
Oh, it's a legal requirement. It
It's
is.
a legal requirement.
Yeah.
Or are you, or the second you popped on screen, I was like, wait, are you supposed to be the queen nerd then?
I hope so. My handle is Heather is a nerd, so I am a professional at least.
Okay. But then you enter that whole question of like, well, if you're calling yourself a nerd, are you really a nerd? A true nerd, would they call them? I don't know. I'm going to start going cross-eyed.
Gonna psychoanalyze this a little bit.
Yeah.
Recording. Let's have some fun, sir. Here we go. In a 1, 2, 3.